Swedish Gripen launches TAURUS KEPD 350 for first time, marking a major shift in Sweden's deep strike posture. Sweden has fired a TAURUS KEPD 350 long-range cruise missile from a JS-39 Gripen C for the first time, demonstrating progress toward a deep strike capability that could extend the reach of Swedish and NATO air power. The Swedish Air Force disclosed the August 21, 2026 test at the Vidsel Test Range, highlighting a potential ability to engage high-value targets far beyond frontline air defenses. The launch demonstrates that the Gripen C can serve as a platform for a weapon designed to penetrate defended airspace and strike hardened or strategically important targets at long range. Integrating TAURUS would give Sweden a stronger conventional deterrent while expanding NATO's options for standoff strikes against command nodes, air defense infrastructure, and other critical targets. The Swedish Air Force marked a major combat aviation milestone as a JS-39 Gripen C launched a TAURUS KEPD 350 long-range cruise missile for the first time during testing at the Vidsel Test Range in Norrbotten. The event provides the clearest public indication yet of Sweden's progress toward introducing a new air-launched deep strike capability. The Swedish Air Force disclosed the development through an official video released on August 21, with imagery credited to the Swedish Defence Materiel Administration, FMV. Beyond the historic first launch, the test carries wider strategic significance for Sweden's evolving air power and its contribution to NATO's collective deterrence. The August 21 firing represents considerably more than the release of a new weapon from a Swedish fighter. It is a visible milestone within a broader process intended to provide the Swedish Air Force with an ability to generate precision effects at extended standoff distances while reducing the need for the launch aircraft to penetrate the most heavily defended portions of hostile airspace. The firing nevertheless represents one stage in a larger capability development process. A completed missile launch does not by itself establish full operational readiness, which additionally depends on certification, mission system development, mission planning, training, logistics, weapon handling, and the wider command and control architecture required for service employment. The significance is institutional as well as technological. Sweden has demonstrated tangible progress in aircraft store compatibility, weapon separation, and the wider flight test and integration program, supported by a national test infrastructure with decades of experience in complex airborne systems. FMV's Test and Evaluation Organization is responsible for evaluating technical systems for the Swedish Armed Forces, while Vidsel has operated as one of Sweden's principal test ranges since 1958. This domestic combination of fighter expertise, weapons engineering, and sovereign test capacity gives Sweden an important ability to develop and validate advanced combat capabilities within its own defense ecosystem. The JS-39 Gripen C is particularly relevant to this development because its operational philosophy was built around availability, rapid rearming, dispersed basing, and the ability to operate with a comparatively limited logistical footprint. Saab lists the single-seat Gripen C with a 14,000 kilograms maximum takeoff weight, 8 hardpoints, and a 10-minute combat turnaround for air-to-air missions. The manufacturer also states that the C-Series can operate from 800 by 16-meter road runways and requires limited personnel and ground support equipment for dispersed operations. These characteristics were originally developed around Sweden's demanding national defense requirements, but they also have increasing value within NATO's emphasis on resilience, survivability, and distributed air operations. TAURUS potentially adds an entirely different operational dimension to that architecture. Sweden is not simply attaching another precision weapon to Gripen C. It is working toward combining a fighter designed for dispersed, high-availability operations with a missile capable of delivering effects hundreds of kilometers beyond the aircraft's immediate operating area. That combination could complicate an adversary's defensive planning by increasing the number of potential launch locations and axes from which long-range air-delivered effects could theoretically be generated. At the same time, a heavy standoff weapon brings additional requirements for protected storage, specialist handling, mission preparation, and logistical support, meaning Gripen South's traditional road-based model should not automatically be assumed to apply unchanged to every deep strike sortie. The importance of the development lies precisely in Sweden's ability to integrate these new requirements into an established and highly flexible combat air system. The TAURUS KEPD 350 is a modular air-launched standoff weapon developed for precision attacks against hardened and high-value targets. Manufacturer documentation gives the missile an operational range in excess of 500 kilometers and describes it as capable of very low-level terrain following flight, intended to improve survivability in dense air defense environments. Its navigation architecture combines inertial navigation with GPS, image-based navigation, and terrain reference sensing, allowing the missile to maintain its programmed flight path without permanent GPS availability. The weapon also incorporates a dual-stage penetrator warhead and a programmable fuse using layer counting and void sensing technologies for effects against hardened and deeply buried structures. TAURUS Systems is controlled by MBDA Deutschland and Saab Dynamics, making the weapon itself a product of German-Swedish defense industrial cooperation. For Sweden, however, deep strike must be understood as a system-level capability rather than simply a function of missile range. Effective long-range precision attack depends upon intelligence, targeting, mission planning, secure command and control, trained personnel, weapon availability, and an aircraft capable of delivering the effect. The August 21st launch demonstrates visible progress in one of the most technically demanding components of that chain, the integration and airborne employment of the weapon from the Gripen C. The missile's multi-source navigation architecture is also strategically relevant in contested electromagnetic environments because it reduces dependence on a single navigation input, a significant consideration for weapons expected to operate where satellite navigation may be degraded, jammed, or intermittently unavailable. The NATO dimension is equally important. Sweden's Defense Resolution 2025-2030 explicitly directs the introduction of long-range ground attack capability to its fighter squadrons, alongside the procurement of additional cruise missiles for JS-39. The same policy states that Swedish Air Forces must be capable of controlling the airspace together with allied forces and identifies NATO capability targets and collective defense requirements as central factors in shaping Sweden's wartime organization. The August 21st firing gives physical form to an objective already embedded in Swedish defense policy, developing a fighter force able not only to protect Swedish territory but also to contribute increasingly sophisticated combat effects within the alliance's northern defense architecture. For Allied planners, the value of a future Gripen TAURUS capability lies above all in operational optionality. An additional nationally controlled, air-delivered long-range precision strike capability on NATO's northern flank would expand the number of platforms, operating areas, and potential strike vectors an adversary must consider during a crisis. It could reinforce conventional deterrence across the Nordic-Baltic region while complementing, rather than replacing, NATO's existing land, maritime, and air-launched long-range fires. Sweden's government has made clear that the country's military development must simultaneously support national defense and the defense of allies, while strengthening interoperability and the ability to support NATO operations from Swedish territory. The first launch of a TAURUS KEPD 350 from a Swedish Gripen C is a defining milestone in the continuing evolution of Swedish air power. It reflects the technical competence of the Swedish Air Force, FMV, and the country's defense industrial base, while demonstrating how an established fighter fleet can be progressively adapted for new strategic missions. As Gripen CD continues to serve alongside the introduction of Gripen E, the TAURUS program has the potential to provide Sweden with a form of conventional long-range precision effect previously absent from its fighter force. For NATO and allied forces, the importance extends beyond the missile itself. A resilient Swedish combat air force equipped for standoff deep strike would add another credible, mobile, and geographically significant layer to the alliance's northern deterrence posture, turning Sweden's renowned defensive air power model into an increasingly capable contributor to long-range collective defense.